In February, the former world archery champion Reo Wilde was appointed the head coach for the Korean compound archery team, becoming the first foreign coach to join the national setup. During the 2000s, he won a number of medals at the world's biggest international tournaments representing the US and was considered one of the best archers during his time. He is now tasked with preparing Team Korea for the upcoming Asian Games. To tell us more about his story, his new role, and what he hopes to achieve with the Korean team, we're delighted to have Mr. Reo Wilde joining us via video now for today's Touch Base in Seoul. Mr. Wilde, hello, and thank you for coming on the show.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, yes. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a very big honor.
Congratulations on becoming the new coach for Korea's compound team. You are, as we said at the introduction, the first foreigner to join South Korea's team management. First, can you walk us through how the opportunity for this role came about? And was it a difficult decision at all to take on this role?
The decision was pretty tough. My family's here. We weren't going to move all of us over there. So to be away from them for this 10 months to prepare is pretty tough. That's probably the hardest part of the decision. Other than that, it was a huge honor to be the first person that comes from outside Korea to do this. It was to me, it was a huge honor, and so to me, that was a big part of helping make the decision.
Right, so on a personal level, it was quite difficult to make that decision to try to come to Korea. But on a professional level, you were honored, you were saying.
Oh, hugely. Huge honor, yes.
You've had an incredible personal record as an archer. Over the course of 2 decades, you won numerous gold medals at some of the biggest international tournaments, such as the World Archery Championships and the World Games. You were ranked number 1 in the world for a considerable time as well. Can you take us back to that time? How did it feel to be competing all over the world and being world number 1?
It was really cool. It's kind of something funny because my dad was a former number 1 too, so to be in that position was kind of a cool deal. But one of the cool parts about this job was I've always been one of them people that work really hard. I practice a lot. I put a lot of effort into it, and so to come to Korea where they spend the time and put a lot of effort into it, it's real similar. So to me, it's a really cool kind of together thing.
So it seems archery was in your blood then, really?
Yeah, it has been my whole life.
Okay, and do you miss it now? Do you miss competing?
Yeah, that's probably the hardest part right now is missing competing. Because I still was competing. I'm still one of the top 8 in the U.S. for our national team, and so it's not like I walked away from something to do this because I feel like it was a pretty good honor, and I feel like being part of having been a part and been number 1, I've been around the Koreans for a long time. You know, the recurve's been around a long time, and the compound has come in the last few years. It's done really well, so to be a part of it was such a big honor.
Right, let's talk a bit more about that. So you've been brought in to coach the compound team. Now, for our listeners who may not know, there are various types of archery, and compound is different from the one we see in the Olympics. The type of archery we see in Olympics is recurve, but there are compound events in the World Championships, and it has been in the Asian Games since 2014 as well. I understand that there is also talk of it being introduced in the Olympics in the future. Can you briefly tell our listeners the difference between compound and recurve archery?
Yeah, the difference between a compound and a recurve is a compound has it's a modern day bow. It has a pulley system on the end so that it lets off at full draw. It has like the holding weight might be anywhere from 7 pounds to 24. So it's a little different than a recurve. A recurve draws back. It holds all the weight. The more you pull, the more it holds. So it's a little different there. A compound does have a peep sight on the back. Similar to like a rifle that has a rear sight and a front sight. It has magnification in the scope and a level. So there's just a little more modern things to it. So it's kind of a, accuracy wise, it's a little more accurate than the recurve.
And how how different is it for someone who's doing recurve to be good at the compound? Is it usual that archers do both?
Not a lot do both. It's kind of a different thing. A compound, like we discuss a lot, a compound is like you try to not miss, and a recurve is you're trying to always hit. So it's a little different mental part. It's a lot of different aspects to it than people would realize or think.
Right. South Korea has an incredible track record for archery at the Olympics, where, as we said, it's a recurve, not compound. Even at the last Olympics in Tokyo, Korea took 4 gold medals out of 5 in total. Korea, of course, has seen this success without bringing foreign coaches before. But is that different for compound? Has Korea's record in compound archery been different compared to recurve?
Their record's been different. They haven't won as much as they have with the recurve, but they've had success. I mean, part of the reason I took this was I knew that they had a talented team. It just was a difference of understanding it and being part of the whole. I would say, just understanding the modern bow, because it's different and it comes from the U.S. Right? It was invented here. It's been here. We've been competing with it for a long time. I mean. Just to give you an idea, from the U.S., I will compete in 24, 25 events in a year. And the team this year may compete in maybe 10 events. So it's a whole different world over there versus here. So it's kind of, we've learned a lot about the equipment stuff that they haven't had. So to me, that's a big part of me helping them understand things. One of our gals was telling me, she's like, we have really good form and really good shots. We wonder why when we shoot, we'll miss a 10 and someone from another country will make a really bad shot. And they're like, oh my gosh, how did they hit the middle? And so it's understanding how to set up the bow so it's more forgiving when you make that bad shot that it still goes there. And so I've been working a lot on teaching them that and working with stuff. And it's been really cool. Lots of good success. And I really honestly am excited for this year.
What is the difference? What has Korea been lacking with that understanding?
It's just really understanding little things. And that's part of me. I'm learning part of their culture is that they are very methodical. And they believe that everything needs to be perfect, and there's a lot of ways to tune. And with a modern bow, some of it is not necessarily to be exactly perfect, but to set it up so that when you do something, it still will hit the middle. Because like I said, with a compound, it's a lot of not missing. I mean, we shoot at 50 meters, which, is like half of a football field for a U.S. football field or in that area. And so for the distance, and you shoot at something about the size of a baseball. So, and in a 15-arrow match, a good round will be 150, so it'll be 15 arrows in the 10 ring. And you can, in fact, we had a match the other day at the center with 2 of our guys, and one guy shot a 150, one guy shot a 149. So he missed 1 point and lost.
Wow.
So it can be a lot of that. So part of it is just the confidence and learning and understanding what the bow can do and how to make it better. And that's where like my advantage is I've done this since, I worked in archery shops when I was 12 years old. So I've been around bows my entire life. And so like I said, it was a pretty big honor to get to do this, and I'm so excited. I mean, we've got some really good shooters, and we've kind of just pushed them to new levels, and I really am excited for our opportunities at our events.
I believe you said that your hope is to help build a real compound program in Korea, and I understand that you're in charge of the overall guidance, such as technology, equipment, and psychology as well. Can you tell us a bit more about that? So your role is not just getting them ready for the short term, but it's to build a long-term program for South Korea, especially if compound gets included in the Olympics, right?
Yeah, excellent. Exactly. What we've been discussing a lot is, I mean, the recurve system has been really well there. There is no doubt in the world that it has built probably one of the best programs in the world. So a lot of what we're doing is we're implementing a lot of that with a compound, which will be just little niches and little different things. I'm kind of looking to find the best products, the best bows to put in the elementary and middle schools, and then just like they have with the recurve, So that's kind of what I'm tasked with helping find. Because I feel like they build a system with the recurve that has proven itself over and over and over again. So to me, to mimic that in a way is not a bad thing, but to understand how to implement the equipment so that we can teach the younger coaches and the other stuff how to get there. In fact, one of the archers the other day, we were talking about it, and she's like, man, just in the time you've been here, I have learned more than I have my entire time shooting. And she's like, I said, but the cool part is in 5 to 10 years or 10 years, whatever, you'll be a coach teaching all this to the other archers and the other coaches. And to me, that's what's really a cool part about this is giving the knowledge out to them, and then it'll spread through the whole program and be better.
Wow, it's amazing. It sounds like you're already having an impact on the Korean team and the national setup as a whole. So looking ahead then, I assume that the Asian Games coming up in September will be your number one priority this year. Is that the main aim?
Yeah, that'll be the big one. We have World Championships this year too, which is, to me, is important because I feel like we got a team good enough to do a lot of really cool things this year. So to me, we're going to the World Cup in Shanghai, and then we have the World Championships in Berlin, and so those will be really good. And to me, my coaching style and my thought process has always been the more events, the more you get ready, the better off you are. Because like I said, in the U.S., we'll have 24 events in a year. So preparing to help be like number one and everything like that, that was a big part of that.
And finally then, from your time as number one in the world and having won numerous medals and you've been coaching as well, what are some of the lessons that you've learned that you can possibly pass on to the Korean team and also any other future students who are looking to improve their archery?
I would say one of the biggest lessons is to just when it comes to a bow is shooting it and see how it shoots. A lot of what I've learned here from the Koreans is they're really, really worried about how everything is so perfect. And sometimes it's not need to be perfect. It depends on, because you're not perfect. And so building something that you can work on and see how you can make it better and be better with it. Because a compound is kind of like a race car. You put it together and it does these things, and you want to see how it handles when you're in that situation. And just like a race car, they'll drive it on the track to see how it handles on the track in different situations. So it's just kind of one of them things that I'm really teaching them that, like, we do every Friday, we do what we call the Banana Cup. We have a men's tournament, a women's tournament, and the person that wins the men's and the person that wins the women win a medal. And then at the end, the top man and top woman shoot against each other. And we have a little trophy that's maybe about 2 inches tall, and it's a banana. It's called the top banana. And that person gets that for the week. And so we've just made a lot of fun and made it so that we can understand competing and how our bows will perform when we get nervous and trying to make it better so that when we get in those situations in a tournament, we can handle it a little better.
Well, it sounds like you're already having an impact, and we hope that the team can continue to learn from your experience and expertise, and we hope that it's a rewarding experience for you in Korea, and that we welcome you here as well. We'll end it there. We've been speaking to Reo Wilde, the coach for South Korea's compound archery team. Thank you once again for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and this is a huge honor, so thank you.